Hello and welcome to the first solo edition Players vs. Podcast. I'm your host, Creeth, and today I'm coming to you by myself. No Drazi today. It's kind of weird, man. That's my wingman. So he's got some other things going on tonight and couldn't be here, and he says hello, by the way. But we're gonna fly solo tonight, and hope you guys enjoy what I'm putting together for you. It's interesting. I've been thinking about what I'm gonna talk about. You know, what I throw out there. And I've had some interesting things happen this last week. And so a few other people that I know, that I'm close with. Some really, really good things and some things that have been kind of cruddy too. And, you know, all of these things that have happened somewhat revolve around video games. And I got to thinking, how much do video games affect us in our everyday life? You know, what kind of people are playing video games? You know, how do video games affect you depending on what kind of person you are? You know, is your personality suited to play video games with other people or by yourself? Are you the same person while you're playing video games as you are in normal everyday life? You know, what are your struggles? Do you share those struggles? Do those struggles come out in the struggles you have in everyday life? Do they come out in the video game world? Or do the struggles in the video game world permeate the normal, real life that you have? So, this is going to be a little different tonight. I'm just going to kind of talk to you guys a little bit. Share some ideas I'm having and work through some things, I think, a little bit, because stuff's been kind of rough the last couple days. And it's directly video game related for the most part, and I'm trying to decide where to go with it. You know, what path do I choose? I know a lot of people deal with a lot of different things and they escape into video games. It's an easy escape. You know, especially games like these huge MMOs. It's basically real life. You know, you still have to go crap and get real food and probably sleep at some point. But for the most part, you're pretty much immersed in these worlds and you can escape everyday life. Even to the point where people have learned to make their incomes doing this. They never have to leave the one room. You know, this is my room, my office. You know, I'm surrounded by my fun little toys and knickknacks and goofy stuff. You know, my computer's in here. I love this room. Do I spend too much time in it, though? How much time do we spend in front of these computers, in front of these games? Is it good? Is it bad? Should there be a negative or a positive connotation on it? Is it something we should even think about? You know, I think there's some people who understand the concept of moderation and they just get it and it works. And there's other people, and I'm one of them, who can get into something and just go. And that's what I'm going to do. You know, and there's going to be no stopping me. So I'm just going to kind of ask myself some questions and talk about it a little bit with you, you know? So the first thing I kind of thought about was, okay, well, what's my personality in real life? I'm pretty outgoing. You know, I'm pretty outgoing, but I enjoy my private time too. I get along with most people, you know. I'm very sincere, I think. But man, I can be really, with the sincerity comes a pretty sincere attitude at times. I can be pretty difficult to be around, and I know that. And it's something I struggle with on a daily basis, and I continue to work on. Privately, like I said, you know, privately what I do, I mean, I play video games. I'm into computer stuff, you know, same thing a lot of us people who play video games and, you know, kind of nerd out on different things are into. You know, my struggles are the same as anybody's struggles. You know, I struggle with anxiety and stress and my job and my relationships, just like anybody else does. And my thought is how do video games affect that? Are my problems caused because of video games, or are my problems eased because of video games? You know, and I know work with me here a little bit. I know we're kind of talking about feelings a little bit, but it's not feelings in the terms of, I'm feeling blue today, but I'm talking about real serious stuff, There are people who don't admit to playing video games. There are those of you out there who play video games nonstop and no one would ever know it. Why do we choose not to tell people? Or why do we choose to tell people? I think it's fun. I don't mind telling people. It doesn't bother me. But I know there are people out there who don't want anything to do with that. They'd just rather the rest of the world not view them through those eyes. If they did, would it cause them some kind of pain? Or some kind of ridicule? It might. My first inclination on something like that would typically be, come on, dude, what's the matter with you? Like, just tell them. Who gives a damn? But you know what? I think about my own anxiety and my stress and the stuff that kind of wigs me out. And you know what? If it freaked me out that much, I wouldn't share it with somebody. So I need to be more cognizant of things like that, I guess my point is, we play in this video game world and we have these friends, Drazi. Drazi is my best friend and I know him through World of Warcraft. I was at his house this weekend with his family. I love him. He's like my brother. And just because now we have we actually know each other now and have for a few years and we hang out, but would I view him or would our friendship be different if I only knew him in a virtual sense? Do I communicate with people in games differently than I communicate with them in real life? And the answer is absolutely yes. And the question is well, why? The only thing I can really come up with is probably because there are consequences in real life as opposed to the virtual world where unless you're doing something really stupid, there aren't really consequences. Drazi, for example, the guy's 6'8". He's big. He was in the army. Okay. He's a tough guy. Now I'm a fairly tough person. I've been in my share of fights and, I'm not a small person by any means, but in the real world, am I going to go up to somebody like that big, 6'8", who's been in the army, who can defend himself, who's been trained to do that? Am I going to go pick a fight with him? No. I'm going to get the shit kicked out of me. And there's nothing about that is at all appealing. However, in video game land, I can say whatever the hell I want. And I guess the question is do we realize that it actually affects people emotionally? Like in the real world. Do you take your problems to the video game to solve them? Or do the video games cause the problems into your real life? For me, it's been both at times. Recently. I'll tell you, and it's one of the things that's bumming me out today. I'm no longer in the guild that I was just in raiding. I've been officially let go. I've been let go basically because it was a number of things, but because I couldn't just sit there and be just okay with the way things were going. I got pissed about it. I got shitty about it. That's my MO. That's who I am. I can be a very nice, sweet person, but I could be a dick too. There were some things going on that set me the wrong way and actually set the four of us, myself and, the other guys the wrong way. But I'm the guy that verbalizes it more than anybody else. If you asked any one of, our close friends and said, hey, who gets the most bent out of shape about stuff in video games? It would be Creeth does by far. I would also hope they would say he's also the guy that, would come to our defense the fastest too and defend us. Because that's how I've always kind of looked at my real life is, I'm out there to stick up for my friends and for the people I care about, and come hell or high water, I'm going to defend them and defend myself. And in the real world, I've had to learn the hard way at times that there are times that you let some of those things go. You don't fly off the handle or get pissed at someone from just making a stupid mistake because people are going to make mistakes. And if we do not show grace to those people at times, we can lose a relationship, burn a bridge that otherwise we may have needed, wanted, or should have had. We should just calm down, take a second, think about the situation, and then react. But, sometimes, I'm JoJo the Idiot Circus Boy, and I just want to fly off the handle with my pretty new pet. And that can be, That's really hard for me to deal with on a daily basis. So, that set me into a bad way. It sent me into a bad mood tonight to think, okay, great. Well, I'm not raiding with these guys anymore. And my first thought is, well, are my buddies coming with me? Well, probably not. And then, you go to that thought in your mind is, well, why aren't your buddies coming with you? Don't they realize that these guys are assholes, that these guys are dicks, that they're probably going to screw them at some point, or that team's not going to get any farther because they're just terrible at the end of the day. There's a diminishing return. They've gotten to where they're going to get to. Well, yeah, they probably realize that too a little bit, but why should I expect them to leave? Why should I do that? I could have handled myself differently and I could still raid with them. I had to make that decision. I made that choice. So why would I get mad at them for sticking around? They're entitled to have their fun, to do what they enjoy. Anybody who plays some of these games, and once again we talk about World of Warcraft a lot. Anybody who plays these games knows that it's not easy to get together a team that's any good. It's hard to do. But what's more important, getting a team together that can do things, that can down bosses, or being true to yourself and to the people around you? And that makes it really black and white. But when someone says something like being true to yourself or to the people around you, it's kind of a line of shit, because it's relative to what you believe. Do these things affect you that much? I can tell you, Jazzy, right now, it doesn't affect him nearly as much as it affects me. He does it for fun. His priorities are different than my priorities. So he can look at it and shrug it off and just go, whatever, it's all fucking stupid. Nobody cares. I look at it and go, hey man, you're messing with my buddies and you're messing with me. You can go to hell and die. I get like that road rage mentality where it's like, I want to freak the hell out. But 5 minutes later, I realize, okay, that was stupid. That was dumb. All right, let's move on now. But it's hard to come back from that. And then it's hard to get rid of that label after you've done that for so long. So that's something I'm struggling with right now. I'm not with my buddies anymore. My buddies are going to be hanging out together and I'm not a part of it. Even though for the week beforehand, I kept going, I don't know if I really want to do this anymore with these guys. I don't think they're very good. I don't want to be there. And my buddies did what, any friend would, and they took me at my word. And you keep saying something long enough, someone's bound to believe you. At the end of the day, all I'm saying is, guys, I'm disappointed with the way that these things are going. I don't really care for them. I feel like we've gotten screwed. Can we please leave and go somewhere else? And the answer is typically, it was probably would have been no, we can't. This is where we're staying for now. And I had to decide at that point if I liked that answer or not. And if I didn't like that answer, if I didn't like what they had to say, then, I could either stay or go. I could either deal with it or I could leave. And I made my choice. Whether I made it consciously or subconsciously, I decided to put myself in a position for that to happen. Because what ended up happening is that, come last Thursday, when it was time to raid, and I had missed Tuesday because of work stuff, which happens, Thursday comes along and, I just decide, it was kind of nice not having to sit there for 3 hours and wipe on the same damn stuff. I don't really want to do that. Plus I'm going out of town and, I've got some work stuff I want to do. So I really don't want to do that. And I hopped in there for about an hour because they needed a healer. So I jumped in. I could have made a different decision that night and it probably wouldn't have happened. It was my decision to make. The question is does that stuff, did I really not want to raid with those guys because of those reasons? Or just because I'm just, because I was in a pissy mood to begin with? Did my outside problems come into my virtual world problems? Did my normal problems become my video game problems? Or do my video game problems cause most of my regular problems, and they just kind of spill into everything? Does it just become this big back and forth and back and forth? All I know at the end of the day is that my attitude is going to determine my success or failure, whether I'm in video game land or real world land. And for any of you who struggle with anxiety and stress, that's really hard to do. it's really hard to separate your anxiety, which becomes your life, your every waking moment. You find it hard to separate, anxiety-ridden person versus, normal person. You don't know where one begins and one ends anymore. And then little things like video games and guilds and raid teams set you off and send you to a dark, dark place. And I can kind of laugh at it, I guess, because it happens to me, But let's be real. Either yourself, or I guarantee somebody, whether you know it or not, that deals with very serious depression, anxiety, stress, and it's why they act out. It's why they get so angry about things that most of us would go, whoa, dude, it's not that big of a deal. Calm the hell down. And even if we can separate the problem that they may be having with the reaction that they have, to that, it still wears on us over time. There's a point where you don't want to be around the guy who's just yelling all the time. Nobody likes that. Nobody wants to be around that. So if you're having a hard time and you keep yelling about it, eventually the person that you are yelling to, not at, because you're typically not yelling at them, you're yelling to them, that person's going to say, dude, I can't do it anymore. I can't be around it. And that's what I let happen. I let my shitty attitude get the best of me. I'm 32 years old. I've got a job. I've got a girlfriend. I've got a house. I've got cars. I've got bills. I've got all the things a normal adult should have. And I've got real world problems. Nothing, serious, oh my God problems, but the same problems that everybody has. And those are serious things. And you're letting a wipe on a boss in World of Warcraft and 5 25-year-olds you've never met before in your life set you off? Like, really? Is this the life we've chosen for ourselves? It's just really, I don't know if it's funny or if it's sad or if it's just the way life is. The longer I go, the more life I live, I realize that there's nothing new under the sun. Nothing is that strange. And at least somebody has been there before. So what's our reaction time? How fast can we get over it? Do we allow the stupidity of the video game or the people who are in the video game who are acting stupid? Do we allow that to mess with us in our real lives? How much does it mess with us? Do we go to work the next day thinking about it? Do we go to sleep thinking about it? Does it affect our personal relationships with our significant others? How much do video games affect your life? Because it affects me a great deal. Because it's what I do. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Which is basically just a fancy way of saying whatever you're really into, whatever you do a lot or think about a lot is what you talk about. We talk about video games a lot. It's because what we do. It's what we like. It's what we've put into our souls, our hearts, whatever you call it. This is what we enjoy doing, so this is what we talk about. So is the answer to cut out the video game? Or is the answer to change the attitude or find out what the root of the problem is and fix that? I think anybody would have a brain would just say, well, why don't you just find out what the problem is and fix it so you can go about enjoying your life? But here's the kicker. What if the video game's the problem? What if you are the kind of person who needs to be around very level-headed people to function at a higher level? And hey, everybody needs to be around certain people. That's why you surround yourself with the people you do. You need to surround yourself with the people that make you a better person or make you function better, right? I mean, it's logical, and I think we kind of do it just instinctively. Instinctively. I don't know what that word means. And so when we think about the question of, do we act differently in video games as opposed to real life? And we go into the video game life with our normal everyday attitude, and we get bombarded by people just being horrible. Does that just ruin us? And should you subject yourself to it? Are you able to distinguish between the two, can you tell the difference between the idiot playing the game who wants to just be a jackass? Can you tell the difference between, that not meaning anything in the world, and then your wife or your husband looking at you and saying the exact same thing? If I got a guy in a video game who I know is probably 18 years old, never had a real problem in his life, and I've got my wife, and they both say the same thing to me, which one should it matter? From whom should it matter more? I would probably say my wife, right? What if it doesn't? Do we have a problem at that point? Because I kind of think we might. So, do video games... I'm kind of jumping around a little here, but do video games attract a certain kind of person? Because I know the initial thought on that would be, no, man. You get every walk and every life and every shape and every color and every size and everything else in the world. However, all of us are humans, and if you drill down far enough, is there one characteristic that we all share? Is there something about each and every one of us that you could look at and go, there you go, that's it, that's why you play? Is that a good or a bad thing? I don't know the answer to that, and I'm not going to explore that much, further. How much is too much to immerse yourself in a game? I mean, when we raid, a lot of us raid, I would say probably 6 to 9 hours a week. Now, after your work day, those who go to work, you get home 5, 6, typically going to be in bed by midnight. 3 days a week, you're going to raid for 3 hours a night. So you get home at 6, you go to bed at midnight, that's only 6 hours, so that's half of that time is being spent playing a video game 3 nights a week. And that's not counting when you're doing it on the weekends. Is that too much? Or is it just a matter of how well you can manage your time and your family life and your responsibilities? It probably is just a matter of how much you can manage those things. But we used to have this thing where we used to say, if you watch too much TV, you got like funk brain, like your brain got funky, got mushy. Because after a while, you can only sit and stare at something for so long like that. How much does it dumb us down to sit there and just play this game like this? Or is it stimulating? Does it stimulate you? Are you more creative after you play it? Are you playing just to play? Are you playing to get something out of it? Are you playing for some sense of accomplishment? I mean, I do. I'll tell you straight up, I do. I want to be very good at what I play, but I will tell you, most of the time, I'm not willing to put in the effort to get there. And I get frustrated by that. I get frustrated that I don't receive the achievement or the accolades that I'd like, but I'm telling you right now that I'm not willing to put it in. I'm not willing to put in the time. I don't have it in me. Are we playing to escape from something? I know people who play to escape from things. I play to escape from things. I do it. I run into this room when things get rough, and I sit in front of my computer at times. And that's just the truth, Why do we play? I'm divorced. I've been divorced. I did not start playing this game until I got divorced. It was my comfort. How much comfort do video games bring you, or is it a false sense of comfort? Should you be receiving your comfort from a video game? Is it comforting because it's always there? Is it Is it comforting because there's other people that you can talk to and share experiences with? Probably both of those things. Is that good? It probably is, as long as you're recognizing the fact that you have to get, that comfort and solace from other places as well, other than just a video game. Kind of feels like how people get sucked into them and never leave, How much does it matter what kind of person you are when you start playing that game or what kind of state you're in? A lot of people start when they're young. We've all been playing video games most of our lives. Are we rebelling when our parents told us we weren't allowed to play? And now we're adults and we're just the hell with it. I'm going to play as much as I want to play. Do they change us? How much do video games change us? Do we become a better person or a worse person the more we play? Or do we just become a more detached person? When you detach yourself from the physical long enough, and then you try to reestablish yourself in the physical world, it doesn't work. We've got a whole generation of people that just walk around speaking in, LOLs and other kinds of weird things. And a lot of us and people older than us look at that like, man, that's not going to work well later on in life. Because a lot of us have been in these situations where we know that we have to have physical human contact. We spend so much time on our phones and on our computers that it changes us, I think, from the inside out. There are no repercussions for your actions, in the electronic world. I mean, yes, we set up laws for cyberbullying and things like that, but at the end of the day, I can call you a dick, and you could be 3,000 miles away. You have no idea who I am, and there's nothing you can do about it. Once again, if we were standing face to face and I called you a dick, depending on who it was, I might get my ass kicked. And we learned that when we were younger. We learned that you don't do that. It only took that one time to where someone smacked you upside your head because you mouthed off to the wrong person. And now you've got these people who probably don't know that. And they got a lot of anxiety about it too. So I'm kind of rambling on at this point. I guess the whole point of the conversation is that sometimes life is real difficult and sometimes we escape into video games. And what's your motivation for doing it? I think I do it a lot, number one, because it gives me time to think and it allows me to talk to the people that I'm comfortable with, But at the same time, are those the right people to be talking to? I think they are. And I'm thankful that I have them. Do you have somebody like that? Do you have somebody that you can talk to if you're going through rough stuff? I would suggest you get one if you are. There's a lot of people out there who don't have someone. Just start asking until you find someone. I'm thankful to have some really good friends. And I'm thankful that I was brought up well enough that I can differentiate between virtual world and real world. And that if I ever see myself getting too much to one side, that I can bring myself back, or at least I have somebody that will help me come back. So I guess at the end of the day, it comes down to watching your attitude, just checking yourself, a checkup from the neck up. How's your head? How's your attitude? Are you getting too easily offended? Are you getting too upset by stupid stuff? If you are, you got two choices. You can either decide to change your mind and not get that upset by it, or you can walk away. Because at the end of the day, no video game is worth it. You can decide to walk away. And that might be the smartest thing to do at times. I've done it. I've done it at times past. I've walked away for 6 months before. 6 months, 4 months. Sometimes you just got to do it. But I don't want to take away from the fact that video games have given me some of the most pleasure and joy over the last 4 years of my life. I've made some of my best friends in the world, And you should never discount where you can find those kinds of, never discount the fact that you find those people in video games. I mean, find them anywhere. Who cares? Just find them. So, I'm going to work on my attitude. And I'm not going to be perfect at it, and I'm going to screw it up. But I'm going to work on it, and I'll be better at it. And I would encourage you to, when you're in raid, or when you're in a guild, or when you're just in trade chat, or whatever it is you're playing, don't be a dick. There are times, yes, when it is kind of funny, and I will give you that. But there are times when it is very hurtful and just mean-spirited. And at the end of the day, man, it sucks to be alone. And if you act like that long enough in video game land, you will act like that in the real world. And people will not put up with it. Or you. So, this is a much deeper conversation than we're used to having. But this is what happens when Drazi decides that he's not going to be around, and I have control. Full control. So, I don't know. This is a little therapy session for me, too, because it's been... it's been rough at times, but it's been really great too, Some really great things happen with Jack-Wagon Media, We've got our first advertiser this week. That's a really big deal for us, We kind of look at this stuff and go, it's not really that good, man. We're doing this, and we've got other people looking at going, dude, this is amazing, So, we do what we can. And we know we're not going to make everybody happy, but we certainly try, and we'll continue to try because we enjoy doing it. So, and at least for me, I'm working my attitude. So, well, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't expect many of these because this was probably a one-time deal. Make sure you tune in next week. You'll hear Drazi and I both talk. We're talking about the new patch being released for World of Warcraft. That'll be exciting. Yeah, make sure you check out Jack-Wagon Media. Please do. Please look at it. Check out the YouTube videos. Road to Legendary. Drazi and I are trying to reach Legendary in Hearthstone this month. It's not going so well for me. He's doing much better than I am, but he's better at the game than I am. And like everything else, Facebook.com/Jack-Wagon Media. Check us out on Twitter, Jack-Wagon Media. And remember to keep listening to the podcast. Check out prodbros.com for the other podcasts. Give those other guys a listen. These guys work really hard on some of that stuff, and it's really good. So, hope you enjoyed the episode tonight, and thanks for listening, and thanks for watching. Later.